G'day and welcome back to the channel. It's another one of those fortnightly updates, and it's late at night once again, but you know what, I figured I've got to do these fortnight, we've got to keep up with them. So what have I been up to? Quite a lot, actually. One of the reasons that some of the channel uploads have been stopping recently is because I've been doing a lot more work, and that's kind of gotten in my way of my channel stuff. But that's okay. More work picking up means more money for me, so I'm always happy about that. I'm really happy with how Wrestle October ended up on the channel, by the way. We did get a lot of wrestling videos posted out there, and there's still some more to come. And I think, just judging by the sheer amount of wrestling pay-per-views, and especially since Jesse and I decided to branch out into other companies as well, other than just WWE, there'll be even more to talk about in the future. So I think that Wrestle October was a really big success, and we've started talking about GFW, and I don't know, I feel like it's always good to broaden your horizons, even if it's not exactly the greatest company. Alright, so I've actually tried to keep up to date with another thing as well. So one of the things that I went out and did is I was like looking for comics, and I was like, I want to get and buy some comics. Now I haven't gone and bought a bunch of single issues in a long time. I usually try and get like the trades. I used to get single issues a lot, but I didn't have enough disposable income at the time, so I kind of stopped getting the singles. But now that work's picked back up, I'm able to go out and get the singles again, and I'm really enjoying it. One of the ones that I really wanted to get was Wonder Woman and Conan. Now, that one was really good. I liked that a lot, and I like how they're doing it. I think that Gail Simone's a really good writer, and I love Conan, so it's very much your Red Sonja, Conan-esque thing, except I'm not sure where they're going with this, because they're doing some backstory for for Conan's character, and they're like, he met Amazons when he was a young boy, and so now he's just like, that girl, she looks like Yana. But I'm like, wait, Yana? Diana's the name of Wonder Woman, so it's just like, I'm not sure what's going on there. And then later on in issue 2, I can't really say the same about it though, because I picked up issue 2 as well. Wonder Woman Conan issue 2, and there was one line in here that really took me out of it, because aside from that, I thought it was great. But I was reading along, and let me see if I can find it for you guys, and once again, having a lot of fun. There it is. And then all of a sudden this comes up. I'm not sure how that's going to focus on the camera, but basically there's this one scene where Conan is having a dream, and it's like a flashback to when he was a kid, and then he wakes up because Wonder Woman wakes him up on this slaver ship, and she goes, hey Conan, wake up, you were holding my hand. And then Conan says, yes, my mistake. And that is just, I don't know, that doesn't seem like something Conan would say. It just really took me out of it. It made it seem like, it just didn't seem like him. He would probably be like, so what? Or he'd like brush it off, or he would be like, no, you're probably holding my hand when you're asleep. He wouldn't be that awkward, I guess. That kind of felt weird and took me out of the entire experience, and it was noticeable enough that I felt, I'd got to bring it up if I ever talk to anyone about it. And the other issue that I got that I thought, hey, you know what, that's pretty cool, I actually went out and bought Batman the Merciless, one of the Dark Knights, and if you can see, the cover is actually pretty shiny, so that's cool. I love dumb stuff like that. And that is a really good comic as well. I haven't read any of the other Dark Knights yet, but these metal tie-ins, they're really supposed to be good. They've been doing really good in sales, so I was like, you know what, I'll check out the latest one. And it was The Merciless. I think, I can't remember his name. I'll look it up because I think it's in the back. But the new Batman has like this Greek name now. Let me think. Barbados or Barbados. But no, it's like Barbatos because that's like bat, I guess. But I don't know how to pronounce it. And he had a really cool story. I liked his design. Obviously, it's very cool. Fits the whole Greek god aesthetic, but at the same time incorporates a lot of Batman into it. And when you read the story and see what it has to do with like Ares, it makes a lot more sense. And I really liked the twist at the end. So for those of you that are reading, there is a stinger at the end. Don't try and read it as if you're like looking for it though, because I'm not saying that because to other people it might be incredibly obvious, but to me it took until he actually came out and said it for me to be like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Also, Batman looks really cool when he takes off his helmet and you get the whole grizzled Bruce Wayne thing. I liked that. So that's what I've been doing in comics. It's been fun to get back into it. Aside from that, in terms of video games, I was only playing a little bit of Zeku when he came out for Street Fighter V. Zeku is fun because I'm a guy player, so like when Final Fight Guy was always who I played in that game, and then when Street Fighter Alpha came out, I'd play Guy in the original one, Guy and Bison. But yeah, so Zeku is like, he has some moves that are very reminiscent of Guy in his younger form, but also he has these moves that are like Strider. And while I wasn't particularly a big Strider fan or even a good Strider player, I was awful. Playing as him and changing between the styles has been super fun, and I really like his music. His theme is really jazzy and just it gives you this real cool vibe, and it's almost like one of those 70s movie kind of deals. Like it's just fun when you hear it. I think one of the descriptions might be it's a little campy, but I like that. So Zeku's cool. His story mode kind of implies that he might be the first ever Strider, so that's pretty cool. As I said, I wasn't a big Strider fan, but like, I'm fine with that. And yeah, so all in all, Street Fighter V, now that all the Season 2's come out, I was pretty impressed with all of it. I don't give a fuck about Akuma, and I don't like how he looks in this, but I liked Colleen. I liked Ed. I liked Ed a lot, actually. I really liked Abigail. I know that makes me one of the like few people on Earth. I loved how dumb he was, but I loved his play style as well. And his theme wasn't even that bad either. I liked Minat. Minat was cool, and Zeku. And so those are the people that I can immediately remember. I think that's all of Season 2. I might be wrong. I might be missing one person. Everyone's like, oh, what you missed out on. But if I don't remember them, I probably didn't like them. But pretty solid season. Only one character I didn't like. Yeah, I'm still happy with my purchase of Street Fighter V, which once again makes me in the minority, but, you know, whatever, I don't give a fuck. As you might hear in future podcasts, because for those of you that don't know, I film a bi-weekly podcast with the blokes of Nerd Company, and I release them in a weird way. I release them in big blocks and chunks at a time. So this podcast that I'm talking about will be released in 2018, and one of the reasons I do that, aside from the fact that it gives me a little bit of breathing room for my job, and it doesn't make it pressure, and it makes me work on them to have fun, but one of the biggest reasons is I love releasing these, and so do the guys that listen to them. They love having them released when they're just far enough far off enough in memory where it's just like you can't remember what you said and you can't remember what the topics were, and then you can see what happened. So, for example, there's been times when we've predicted stuff and we didn't know it at the time, and then just being able to go back and be like, holy snap. Like, you guys will be seeing a lot of it in the Wrestle October videos that I've been putting up. So all of these were recorded throughout the year, and they were recorded and pretty much exactly after the event on the day of the pay-per-views. So we would sit down and we would talk about them. And if you listen to some of the stuff we say, we predict like a whole bunch of stuff that's coming from down the road and we don't even know about it. Some of us spitball, some of our stuff is horribly wrong, of course, but it's interesting because now, since I was releasing them in such close proximity to one another, like there's many times that we talk about, like I think even in the SummerSlam one, I could be wrong, I talk about Jinder versus Brock, and it's just like, that's weird. And once again, it's like even other stuff back in earlier, just some of the stuff that Ryan and I would talk about, just really bizarre that it came true. Anyway, wrestling's wrestling, and there's been a lot of it in Wrestle Rocktober, but I liked it. Aside from that, many, speaking of podcasts and stuff like that, one of the conditions, because as some of you also may know, and I'm sorry if I'm just, if there's any new listeners or any people that aren't aware of the old podcasts, because I do have some of them up on the channel, but as of recently, we've been filming them and trying to sync up the audio and the video as well so that we can release them, and you can see how our expressions are, because a lot of the time I felt when I release it in audio only, I was like, man, if they could only see the reactions of some of this stuff. Regardless, there's a good one, a bad one, and a middle one. And every couple of weeks, every fortnight, I'm not sure if that's a common word. So, because when I was traveling across the America and Canada and even Mexico, people didn't understand what I meant when I said fortnight. So every 2 weeks, when we get together, we have 3 pieces of media and we try and weigh them against one another in the eyes of myself. And so these guys will be like, okay, well, what do we think Stuart likes and what do we think he doesn't like? And sometimes I'll be like, okay, this is the unique spin on it. Like, here's a twist, like there's a theme, or can you guess? It's up to you guys to decide which one is bad, good, and, you know, whatever. But as, you know, a little bit of a gift and a little bit of a thank you to the guys for putting up with a lot of the bad stuff, because there is always going to be a bad one, I gave them a list of things that I absolutely hate. And I said, go ahead, you can pick whatever you want. I will do a review on the next podcast of whatever this is, or whatever you pick. So they had a lot of things on this list that I absolutely hate and I would suffer through if they picked. And I was like, you guys can pick. I leave my destiny in your hands. And they picked Disney. Now, a lot of you might be surprised at that, but I grew up and I never saw any Disney films. None of them. My first exposures to Disney were I would, you know, go through a store and see bits and pieces on televisions, but aside from that, I really didn't watch any Disney animated films. It just wasn't my deal. And so growing up, I never had any love for them. And when I constantly see them get referenced and stuff, I'm out of that loop. And I'm just like, I have no reason to go back and watch these films at all. And there's a lot of films in the Disney catalogue that I view with absolute contempt, because I'm an outsider looking in and I don't have those childhood memories or experiences. So when I look at it as an adult, I don't have any of that fun, I guess. So, for example, everybody likes The Lion King. I hate it. I think it's absolute boring tripe. And if you want to have the same message, I often say go read Hamlet. But Obviously, that's an extreme view to take, but that's just, I never grew up with any of these films. And so they picked Disney, which was on the list, and I've had to go back and watch all of the Disney animated films. Now, I'm kind of selectively choosing, I'm going through and I'm like, okay, well, which ones can I like rent out, or which ones are, like, some of them are, there'd be no way to get, like, if I was able to, see, okay, does anyone have a copy of this? Does anyone have a copy of that? But I've been trying to watch Disney. I've been trying to watch a lot of Disney films, and I have. I've watched a lot of Disney films, not all of them, because, that's going to be a little bit difficult, but I've watched a significant amount. What do I think of Disney? You'll have to wait until that podcast and comes out in about a year, and by then, hopefully, it's all nice and presented well, and I might put in little things as well, but because I don't want to be a dick, if anyone's actually wondering what I think about the Disney stuff, my mind hasn't been changed. I don't think I'm a Disney fan yet. There could be something out there that I haven't seen, because as of current recording, I still have another whole week to go before we meet up and film the podcast. So there could be something that I'm missing. There could be something that I haven't yet seen that, makes me go, wow, Disney's good. But until then, nothing as of yet. So I don't think that it's as horrible as I initially thought. Like, it's popular for a reason. I just think that I'm the wrong demographic for it now, so a lot of that fun and childlike wonder that comes from being a child is lost to me, because I'm viewing it with adult eyes. But yeah, that's that. And last of all, well, not last of all, actually, I was just going to tell you guys that I finished Ninja Commando, and that's a game for the PlayStation 2. It's weird. You go through time and you have to play as one of 3 different ninjas, and you have to try and stop time from being altered. It's weird, like, it's fun, but I'm glad that as part of the 80k collection, you can have infinite lives, because, man, you'd be spending a lot of money at an arcade until you got really good at this game. So it's fun. It's not the greatest thing in the world, but it's definitely above average. And I wanted to talk about, I just finished, or when I say just finished, I actually talk about this on a podcast, but because I was so impressed with it, I finished Blood, Sweat and Pixels by Jason Schreyer. And I'm not normally one to talk a lot about games journalism, because it's a big mess a lot of the time, but I really liked his book here, and it gave me a lot of insight into gaming companies, and for some of the companies that were mentioned, respect. That being said, it also made me realise, man, that is not an industry that I would want to be a part of ever. Anyway, guys, thank you for listening. This has been our fortnightly update, and I'll catch you guys later.